大家好冇? My friends, I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm aware this is our last night. And you know, my teammates are so hardworking, they don't give me much time to speak to you. This has been a challenging election. First, some people came up to me and said, you cannot question character. If you do that, it'll be a personal attack. So I said, fine, I won't question character. But of course, they say all kinds of things about me. They're prepared to distort, to lie, in order to attack my character. But never mind. I'm strong enough, and you all know me well enough, I don't need to respond. Then another group of people come up to me and say, don't be so fierce to demolish their policies. Because anyway, everybody knows they are not going to be the government. Their policies are not going to be implemented. So no need to be so fierce about it. Then I said, well, if I cannot question the person, if I cannot question the policies, then what am I going to talk about? What is this election all about? And you all know me very well. I'm a fighter. I am a fighter. But what am I fighting for? What are you all fighting for? I believe in Singapore and Singaporeans. This is a country that didn't deserve to exist, but we made it. This is a country where Indians, Malays, Chinese, Eurasians, everyone is equal. This is a country where someone like me, of Indian and Chinese origin, can stand here in front of you and say, I am equal to all of you. This is a country that has given all of us opportunities. As long as we worked hard, were honest, took all the opportunities and advantages that Singapore gave us, we could do well. And we have done well. And this is also a fragile country. A country that is still have to challenge economic volatility, defense and security, terrorism, even issues like transboundary haze, water shortages, resources. We have got major challenges. So you see, my friends, the reason why I get so uptight, so aggressive, when someone comes along, talks very well, but sells koyok and puts our country in danger, I fight back. But my friends, I also know, because this is the last day, most Singaporeans have already made up your minds. Most Singaporeans have made up your minds. I am sure here you support the PAP, yes? So I say thank you. I say a big thank you. Thank you for supporting the PAP and for protecting Singapore. But over the last few weeks, as I've been walking around, and some of you say you see me too many times, 3 times in a week, some people have also come up to me quietly and they say, I know you care, I know you work very hard, but I haven't decided yet. No, I thank them. I thank them for the honesty of telling me heart to heart, I haven't decided yet. So I made a point, whenever I meet someone like that, to say, come, let's talk about it. Why is it you haven't decided. And after meeting several people like that, I would say there are two major reasons why some people, even as of tonight, may not yet have decided. So, although all of you here, or most of you here have decided, let me go through the conversations I've had with those who have not yet decided. One group of people say to me, thank you. One group of people say to me, I want a more compassionate society. I seen compassion. And I say, yes, I think we all want a more compassionate society. We are all Singaporeans. Actually, whether you're an opposition supporter or a PAP supporter, we all want a more compassionate society. All of us in our family histories have gone through tough times, poor times, good times, and bad times. All of us, at some point in our own lives, will need help. Will have reached out a hand, pulled someone up. You've heard the stories that my fellow candidates have shared with you. But let me explain to you the key difference between what the SDP is offering and what the PAP is offering. As I said, we all want a more compassionate society. The key question, however, is, can you have a more compassionate society without raising taxes on the middle class? Think about that. Can we have a more compassionate society without burdening the middle class with higher taxes? And this is the key difference, and let me explain why. First, I believe compassion is in our hearts. Compassion is voluntary. Compassion is inherent. And compassion is because we care for each other and we have a relationship with each other. So all of us are compassionate, but the question then is, how do we express that compassion? And again, you've heard the speeches of my colleagues, my teammates. We believe in the PAP that compassion is best expressed through action. That's why we are the People's Action Party. We don't talk about it. We don't just talk about it. We do. And all of you, so many of you here are volunteers. You are part of that network that expresses compassion through action. The danger with the SDP model, with universal benefits, which must be paid for by higher taxes, including a higher burden of tax on everybody in this field and everybody outside this field, is that for them, compassion is compulsory. Compassion is something you extract through tax. Compassion is delivered through entitlement. The PAP way is that compassion is voluntary and comes from us. And why do I believe our way works? I believe our method works because I have seen it in Holland, Bukit Timah, and Bukit Panjang. We are not short of donors. People are very happy to donate money. So many of you are happy to donate time, to donate ideas, to hold someone else's hand, to build long-term relationships. You see, my friends, it's not about money and taxes. It's about relationship. And I see that in all our branches. Every week at our MPS, we meet people, our volunteers hold their hands, offer their shoulders to support them, hug them if need be. We build relationships for the long term. And because I have seen this happen, I believe our way works. But let me also be honest with you and tell you that there are still gaps and that we do need to improve our social safety nets. And what have we done to improve our social safety nets over the past decade? Let me give you some examples. I used to be in MCYS a long time ago. More than 10 years ago, we introduced ComCare in MCYS. Why did we introduce ComCare? Because I realized that I wanted to have a big sum of money set aside, which would continue to generate interest so that people who were vulnerable and needed help would always be able to get help from the government, regardless of whether the economy was doing well or doing bad. More important than money, we also set ComCare funds so that every constituency, whether you're opposition or PAP, every constituency has a source of funds which can be used for interim or emergency assistance to anyone who needs help. This has been going on for 10 years. So this is not something new. Point I'm trying to make is that the government has been progressively strengthening our social safety net for a long time. Another example, about 2006, we introduced workfare so that even if a person was not earning very much, the government would top up the wages. We didn't do minimum wage, we did workfare. Why? Because we believe our method ensures people keep their jobs, but we top up their pay, top up their CPF, and life can be improved for people who are in low-paying jobs. About 8 years ago, we expanded childcare facilities, kindergarten facilities. We increased the subsidies for childcare and kindergarten. Why? Because we wanted to ensure that every child, regardless of family background, would have a good education, would have an early start, would have a chance to do well later in life. We also expanded education and subsidies for children with special needs. And in fact, this is something that MOS SIM-N takes the lead on in the Ministry of Education. More recently, we've had the progressive wage model. As the Minister for Environment, I was the one who moved the legislation in Parliament so that cleaners will get higher wages, better working conditions, training, access to automation. It's not just a minimum wage. No, SDP says, oh, you just copied our idea. No, not at all. The progressive wage system is a system to make sure people don't lose jobs, to make sure people become more productive, to make sure people have access to training and to equipment, and that they can earn higher wages which are sustainable for the long term. More recently, DPM Tharman announced Silver Support. This is a scheme where for those who are elderly with very low CPF balances, the government will top up, put money into their CPF account so that they would be able to get monthly payments, a pension, just like other people as well. And then last year, we introduced the Pioneer Generation Package. $8 billion, more than $8 billion to be used to support the healthcare needs of our pioneers, 450,000 of them. And the most recent example, MediShield Life. So that on 1st November 2015, everybody, every Singaporean, doesn't matter how old or how young, doesn't matter whether you've got a pre-existing disease or not, or a congenital disease, you are covered by insurance. So, thank you. Why am I going on so long and giving you such a long list? Because I'm telling you that this is a compassionate government. people make all kinds of allegations against us, but we are a government that shows compassion in action. But that's not all. That's not all. Because we are also a government that has translated compassion into action, but without passing the bill to the next generation and without levying heavier taxes on the middle class. Do you see then the key difference between the PAP's compassion in action and the SDP's talk, and the danger of what they are proposing? And do you then understand why I have been so fierce in demolishing their policy proposals? It is not that I'm anti-opposition or that I want to win an argument, but because I feel so strongly that we are a compassionate society, we are strengthening our safety nets, but we can do it in a responsible way that will not pass the bill to the next generation and will ensure that we don't put more burdens on the middle class. So that's one conversation I had with people who haven't yet decided. And I asked those of you who have not yet decided to vote because you're worried about compassion, please think about what we have done and have no doubt that this government, if re-elected on the 11th of September, will continue to extend compassion to all Singaporeans. Then the other set of issues that came up from people who haven't yet decided. They told me, Minister, I need more reassurance. I worry about the cost of living. I worry about healthcare. I worry about my retirement needs. And I think these are entirely reasonable things to be concerned about. Entirely valid to ask any candidate who's asking for your vote to tell, what is your solution? And over the last 9 days, you've heard many speeches from the Prime Minister, the DPMs, to other ministers. I don't need to go into a full-fledged explanation of all that we're doing on this score. But let me just give you maybe just a few more examples which are easy to identify. Something close to our heart for Singaporeans. What's that? Food, right? Food. When I was a first-term MP, I was actually in charge of Ulu Pandan. Ulu Pandan has an iconic hawker center at Ghim Moh. It's got another smaller center at Empress Place. The key lesson I learned during my first term was that hawker centers in Singapore are the soul of Singapore. It's where everybody, no matter how you address, no matter what job you hold, we can all sit down, share the table, eat our food. It is the glue that keeps us together. Just as important, it also represents this principle that in Singapore, we must always have a low-cost option on the table. That means if you want expensive food, you can get it. But I always want to have a low-cost option on the table. That's why when I came to this ministry, one of my first decisions was to say, let's restart building hawker centers. That's why we're going to have 20 new hawker centers, and of those 20, it just so happens that 2 are in Bukit Panjang. I'm sure you support that, right? And then the other thing I worked on was to try to push rentals down. And I've done that by telling everybody I'm increasing the supply and I'm not interested in maximizing revenue. I said no more subletting, no more assignment, no more arbitrage. You bid a price. If it's a competitive price, I give it to you. And today, depending on where you go, you can get a hawker stall for as low as $10. Or in fact, the lowest lockup, I think, is $1. The point is, wherever possible, I'm trying to push rentals down. Now, of course, those of you who are actually hawkers will tell me, hey, but Minister, not so simple, you know. You also push progressive wages, right? You increase the wages of cleaners, right? And now we have to pay more for cleaning. So there is a balance. But the point I'm trying to send to you is that as a government, we are trying, the government of Singapore is not trying to maximize rentals. We are trying to improve facilities, make it available to everyone, and we're also trying to increase wages for everyone. Because increasing wages, especially for those who are low income, is the best way to deal with the cost of living. And then others came up to me and said, okay, so I know you're trying. What about my healthcare needs? And this is something the SDP, for the past 9 days, has been going on a lot about. And they ignore the changes that we have made to our system. They ignore the fact that our MediShield Life, MediSave, MediFund, and our subsidies of up to 80% in C-class wards allows me to stand up here in front of all of you, indeed in front of all Singaporeans, put my hand on my heart and tell you all, if you need any medical care, you will get it. And even if you don't have the money, we will provide it so that you will have all the care that you need. So no need to have long arguments. This is the PAP's guarantee to you. You will get health care. The problem with the method the SDP is proposing, which frankly is borrowed, cut and paste from Western Europe, and I know because I've worked in London, is that model ultimately is very expensive, ultimately leads to a higher tax burden on the middle class. I know, I've worked in that model. What we are trying to do in Singapore is unique. Of course, we are all going to spend more on healthcare in the long run as a country. But if we can get the balance right between the government, between savings, between insurance, and making sure our doctors and our healthcare centers are efficient, we can get some of the best care in the world at a price which we can afford as a country and without passing the bill to our children and grandchildren. Now, this is still work in progress, but rest assured, the PAP government will do so. Then another group of people, thank you. Another group of people came to me and said, what about my retirement? The SDP says, take everything out at 55. Very attractive, very attractive. So I sat down with them and said, look, today our life expectancy, 84, 85. Frankly, in another 10 years' time, it's likely to go even higher. What we really want to do is to ensure that every single person, every single Singaporean can retire with dignity. And if you want to retire with dignity, you want to have a pension. You want to have a monthly payment, which hopefully you can use to fund your daily needs. And what we are going to do has also been announced, it's no secret. We will provide more flexibility so that people who need to withdraw a lump sum earlier to meet urgent needs can do so. We will also have greater flexibility for the sum of money which is left in the retirement account to generate the annuity, to generate the monthly income that you get. In other words, you choose. If you want, say, $600 a month, you can leave maybe 70 or 80,000 behind. You want 1,000, 2,003 a month, leave 160 KB. If you want even more, let's say you put in 240K in your retirement account, you get significantly more money. And not only that, how many people realize the first 30,000 which you leave in your retirement account earns 6% guaranteed interest rate. I ask you, find any bank that can offer you 6%. The next 30,000 offers you 5%. Even 5% you can't get from any bank, guaranteed. Beyond 60,000, you earn 4% in your retirement account. These are guaranteed returns, guaranteed by the Singapore government. And as long as the PAP is the Singapore government, you know it's good for its money. So I've had to sit down and persuade, slowly, carefully, and to explain to people. I won't say that I've succeeded in every case, but at least they know that we are listening, that we're doing our best, and we're trying to protect the long-term interests of Singaporeans in Singapore. My friends, I think I've run out of time, so I need to quickly wrap up. And let me just end on this note. For all of you in Holland Bukit Timah, I can tell you nobody, no other team has worked harder than the team which you have today. No other team has consulted you as extensively to generate plans for the future. No other team, having printed the manifesto, will come back 5 years later and say, judge me by what I promised 5 years later. Because in fact, the opposition is very smart. They don't even have a local program so that you don't have to judge them 5 years later. But that's not the way we are. I want to also give further reassurance to workers. You know, Singaporean workers are the best in the world. I say that in all sincerity. I'm not trying to get your vote by flattering you. Singaporean voters are not afraid of competition. All that Singaporean workers are asking for is protection from unfair competition. Am I right? Yes! And that the PAP government is doing. That's why Minister Lim Swee Say is working on the fair consideration framework. He's going through every company, you know. How many Singaporeans do you have? In each department, your HR manager, why isn't your HR manager a Singaporean? Not because we are xenophobic, but because we want to make sure that competition is fair. My friends, I am sure you agree with me that our workers, Singaporeans, can hold our own in fair competition. Yes? So, if you look at what I have said to the undecided voter, that we can be a more compassionate society, that we can make efforts to deal with the cost of living, that we are making efforts on healthcare, that we are making efforts for retirement adequacy, that we are doing our best to ensure fair competition. And yet we do all this without compromising the long-term interests of Singapore, without passing the buck, the bill, to the next generation. My friends, I'm asking for support. Yes. I'm asking you for support for a program which I believe will do good for our country. The Singapore story is only 50 years old, but it is a story primarily of giving opportunities to everyone, allowing a broad middle class to rise, to enjoy the fruits of your labor, and not put heavy taxes on you. That is the Singapore story. The alternative story that the opposition offers, based on failed models elsewhere, would lay heavy burdens on the middle class and on the children of the next generation. So my friends, I ask you, let's celebrate. We have built a very special Singapore. a Singapore based on trust, integrity, cohesion, equality, justice, long-term planning, responsibility. I ask you from the bottom of my heart, let's keep Singapore special. And we need your support to keep Singapore special. So in that spirit, I ask you in all humility, vote for the PAP. Vote for Singapore. Vote for Singaporeans. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.